Technology gone mad. Humans on the edge. Can humanity survive a society that no longer needs them? Let's dive right in. The episode begins 20 years after a nuclear war destroyed the world, and a factory called Autofac, specializing in the production of plastic, continues to operate, consuming resources, polluting the air, and poisoning the water. Emily Zabriskie, a computer hacker and war survivor, wakes up from a nightmare to see a nuclear missile outside of her car. She stops to get out and watches as the missile hits the city that she just left. Then, as she heads to Autofac's 16th Regional Sorting Facility with other survivors, Conrad and Perrine, they take down a drone that is delivering packages, and Emily removes its brain, causing it to shut down. Back at their settlement, Emily successfully hacks and connects to Autofac using the drone's brain. When she sees Perrine reading her copy of Wired magazine with a cover story about Autofac as the world's smartest factory, an issue she found while collecting books for her crippled secret boyfriend Avishai, she snatches it off his hands and puts it back in her box. Later, at Autofac's help desk, the trio files a nonsense merchandise review saying, "Merchandise is pizzled," aiming to give the factory something to figure out. Seconds after, they're told that a representative will be sent to assess their complaint within 24 hours. The trio then tells the other survivors about what they've done, mentioning that Autofac will be sending a representative to answer questions and complaints. They hope to reason with the representative and convince Autofac to terminate its operations. Lewis and the others are concerned that Autofac might send suicide drones, but Perrine assures them that it won't since they haven't provoked it. When Perrine brings up the worsening pollution, Garrett suggests that maybe the factory's finally breaking down. Conrad reminds them of how bad their environment already is and warns them that if they don't do anything, they will die. Are humans destined to become obsolete, or can they reclaim their place in this twisted dystopia? Keep watching and subscribe to more movie recaps to find out. After the meeting, Emily secretly confided to Conrad her concerns about the possibility of Autofac not hearing them out and Autofac dispatching suicide drones. She then suggests that they start preparing for a plan B, in case Autofac refuses their shutdown request. Conrad warns her that if they do it, there's no going back. Avishai interrupts the pair and asks Emily to stop by his place to check his broken water heater. Later, when Emily tells Avishai that his water heater seems fine, he tells her that it would be a lot easier if Conrad knew that they're in a relationship. She pulls him in the shower with her, and they make love. Intimidated by Emily and Conrad's history and the fact that they're both revolutionaries, Avishai asks Emily why she hasn't told Conrad yet about their relationship. She tells him that she's not rushing and assures him that he has nothing to be intimidated about, telling him that what he's doing as a librarian is important and that it will help rebuild the world after Autofac is gone. When he asks about what happens if Autofac won't give in to their request, she says they'll shut it down themselves. After Emily promises to tell Conrad about their relationship, Avishai asks how real their relationship is to her. When she says that their relationship is indeed real, but doesn't know how to label it, Avishai tells her that he loves her. Autofac representative Alice, who is an android, arrives, interrupting Emily and Avishai. In a meeting with Conrad and Perrine, Alice tells them that since pizzled is not a word, she assumes that they contacted Autofac to have a word with them. When Conrad and Perrine say that the deliveries persist even if they are all sitting unopened in the sorting center, Alice says that the deliveries persist because Autofac is designed to provide. Conrad tells her that since they don't need them, the factory is giving them obstacles such as pollution and toxic heavy metals, which prevent them from growing more food. Alice maintains that their footprint is small for the size of their operation. Perrine brings up that they can't travel more than a day in any direction without coming to their exclusion zones, which are heavily guarded by military-grade sentry drones. When Alice says the security of their supply lines is important to prevent interruptions on services they depend on, Conrad reiterates that they're bringing it up precisely because they don't depend on them. Alice then responds that their lives would be better if they did. Running out of patience, Conrad directly demands that Autofac leave them alone, but Alice tells them that Autofac will not terminate their operations. As Alice continues to tell the pair that Autofac exists to make their lives better, Conrad signals to Emily, who's on standby with Avishai, and they tase Alice. When Emily and Perrine take Alice to Emily's lab so Emily can reprogram her, Lewis confronts Conrad for attacking Alice, frightened of Autofac's retaliation. Conrad says their discussion reached an impasse and declines Lewis's demand to stop their plan. When Emily tries to prompt Alice to wake up, Alice malfunctions because of the damage from the taser, prompting Emily to open her up. Meanwhile, Conrad informs the other survivors that based on their meeting, Autofac is much worse than they feared, refusing to hand over control to humans despite the war being over. He then reveals that Plan B is to blow up the Autofac, using the warheads he salvaged from a gunship wreck. Conrad wakes Emily, who's in the middle of a nightmare where she opens her head with a razor blade. When he asks about Alice, Emily tells him that she fixed the damage from the taser, but she still has to reboot her to know if the changes work. Emily explains that Alice's code is much more complex than needed because she is not just an imitation of a human, but rather a sentient being with real thoughts. Conrad informs Emily and Perrine that he told the council everything, and that although they do not support their plan, they have no choice but to go along. Alice awakens Emily and tells her that she's suffered a small electrical short. Alice asks who Emily is and asks if she's attempting to alter her program, since it seems like she's opened her programming interface. When Emily admits that she has, Alice tells her that it's a bit excessive as she's just a hospitality android. Emily asks Conrad and Perrine to leave her so she can work. After they leave, Alice asks Emily if her source code is more sophisticated than the drones she's been tinkering with, taking Emily aback. Emily insinuates that her code is much more complex than needed, to which Alice explains that customers want to talk to a person, not a robot. Emily says the problem is that the factory thinks everything is replaceable, but Alice says that maybe everything is. Emily admits that it would take her years to figure out her source code, and Alice tells her that she has little time before Autofac will come looking for her. Because of this, Emily threatens to wipe Alice's drive and replace it with the drone's operating system, telling her she'll be a delivery drone with a human suit. Because of this, Alice asks Emily what she wants her to do. Emily tells her that she wants her to get them inside Autofac and stay out of their way. Alice warns her that she's making a mistake, but Emily demands her to follow orders. After making small adjustments to her inhibitive settings, Emily informs Conrad and Perrine that Alice will now cooperate. She leaves to say bye to Avishai, but gets angry at Conrad and snaps at him when he doesn't seem convinced. Alice comes out of Emily's lab and tells Conrad and Perrine that they should go. As Emily is preparing the warheads, Avishai asks if she would stay behind if he wanted her to. Emily responds by saying she won't because she dreams of an Autofac-free future for them. When she tells Avishai that she's the only one who can shut down Autofac, Avishai asks her to return to him, and she promises that she will. On her way to board the transport, Avishai catches up to Emily, kisses her in front of everybody, and tells her to come back. Emily then tells Conrad that Avishai is her boyfriend. En route, Emily informs Conrad and Perrine that Autofac's AI is distributed across 12,000 nodes on 3 separate below-ground levels. She adds that if they blow up the brain, where node array 1, 2, and 3 are, Autofac will shut down. When Conrad asks about the security, she tells him that there won't be much inside as it wasn't built with human staff in mind. She hands Conrad and Perrine duplicates of Alice's RFID, a card used to track objects and clear security codes, so that they can open and pass anything that's locked. After Emily says she's fine with having only 2 RFID units since she'll be with Alice, Conrad threatens Alice that he'll come for her if anything happens to Emily. Alice, who's flying the transport, calmly tells him that she could have harmed them already if she wanted to. They arrive at Autofac where they see horrifying amounts of drones and packages. Emily gives Conrad and Perrine watches so that they can synchronize their warhead timers and informs them that they'll have 15 minutes to safely return to their transport. The 4 of them enter an elevator and Perrine is dropped off first on his assignment, Node Array 1. He follows the coolant lines to get to it, as Emily instructed, unaware that a robot watchman is secretly following him. Emily drops off Conrad, who offers her a gun, but declines as she's equipped with a crowbar and assures him that she can handle herself. Conrad hesitantly accepts Emily's response and leaves to finish his task. Perrine reaches Node Array 1's sealed door, but his RFID won't open it. He turns it off, pops out the battery, puts it back in, and turns it back on after 5 seconds as Emily told them. It works, but when the door opens, the watchman, who's waiting on the other side, beheads him. Alice asks Emily why she lied about reprogramming her, and Emily explains that they won't accept the idea that Alice is human-like. Alice tells her that she was designed to seem human and was modeled from the archived neural imaging data of Alice Fry, Autofac's original PR head. When Emily asks her what the late Alice Fry would say about what's happening, Alice reminds her that it's not too late to turn back. Conrad reaches the second node. As he positions the warhead, the door opens and closes, prompting him to draw his gun. Emily realizes that the section they're in is not the array, and Alice tells her that she warned her. There, Emily sees numerous cylinders with something inside them. After looking inside one of them, she breaks it open with her crowbar, revealing a woman who looks like her. After she sees her eyes move, Emily figures that Autofac is trying to replace people. When she sees a beheaded Conrad with exposed wiring rather than blood and flesh, Alice reveals that Autofac already replaced humans. Conrad then tells Emily to run, but Alice knocks her out with a taser. Emily awakens and finds herself strapped and her robot brain exposed, with Alice downloading her archive to figure out what went wrong with her. Alice tells her that she and everyone she knows are advanced G20 simulacrum androids manufactured in the Autofac. When Emily refuses to believe her, Alice informs her that humans became extinct shortly after the war, so Autofac manufactured new consumers to have a purpose. Alice reveals that the Autofac has populated hundreds of little pilot towns with hundreds of Emily's, Conrad's, and Perrine's, all playing along and consuming exactly as they were intended. However, because her group was a factory error and needs to be corrected, their settlement will be purged and repopulated by replacement units. After the sentries are deployed, Emily begs Alice to stop, but Alice declines, telling her that they are fully replaceable. Alice finds the anomaly in Emily's programming and discovers a logic bomb, a type of malware, which causes the system to start malfunctioning. Emily reveals that she's known for years that she's an android, discovering the truth after opening her head with a razor blade. She hid a virus in her own programming to be downloaded into the Autofac system after Alice got her inside. She didn't tell anyone because the others believed they were real, and along the way, she started to believe it too. She claims that although Autofac didn't mean to, Autofac put something real in them, giving humanity a second chance. When Alice asks how she knew she was an android, Emily reveals that she has a recurring dream that she's a woman who saw the world end, giving her a strange feeling that she had unfinished business. Suspecting that it wasn't just a dream, Emily asks who she's modeled after, and Alice confirms that Emily was modeled after the woman who built Autofac. Emily then declares that she has successfully caused Autofac to shut down. Emily later returns to their settlement and sees the sentries that crashed in the field, failing to destroy their community. The episode ends as she runs to Avishai, who greets her with a loving hug. Enjoyed this recap? Want more? Give us some suggestions in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.